Welcome to the Mind Shift Movement Podcast with your host, Alan Johnson. On this podcast, Alan will be sharing with you empowering, effective, and actionable knowledge within the health, fitness, and mindset space to help you make the progress and growth that you desire from your life so you'll become the very best version of you, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So now, get ready to dive into today's episode.
Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Mind Shift Movement Podcast with me, your host, AJ. And today's episode is just sharing my experience from the recent challenge that I took part in, which was the UK Free Peak Challenge, but the home edition. So basically what I did was I've got a 17-inch stool that I have at home. I worked out how many times I've got to step on and off of that stool to be the equivalent of 11,181 feet, which is collectively the height of Ben Nevis in Scotland, Scafell Pike in England, and Snowdon in Wales. And I actually did, further than that, actually higher than that, just to make sure that, if I miscounted on a couple of sections, then it will cover it. So yes, I was doing the counting myself. I was doing like segments of 50, which to be honest was quite mentally draining as well. But I'm going to share some of the experience with you guys anyway. So I basically wanted to find a way to raise money for our amazing NHS staff and volunteers during these crazy times of COVID-19. They're working their absolute nuts off, trying to support us, keep us healthy and keep us alive, basically. So I wanted to just contribute in some way for those guys. So yeah, I thought it'd be a good idea to climb over 11,000 feet from my home. And as I've said, it's the equivalent of the UK Free Peak Challenge, which we're planning on still doing this year, which is going to be in August, hopefully. Depending on the lockdown and everything else. And also as well, so it's been a bit of a mental time recently. So it's been 2 weeks, 2 days ago that we moved into our first family home. So as you can imagine, it has been absolutely crazy. I've managed to decorate today the last room of our flat, so made some really great progress over the last 2 weeks to get ready for our second baby, which is due in 6 weeks time. So for this challenge, I've basically had zero training. Okay, I've not had any time to just focus on some kind of training structure and any strategies, what I'm going to be using, nothing like that. I just kind of went all in and got the job done. So, regardless of having zero training, I'm a personal trainer, I'm a coach. I'd say I've got a fairly strong mindset. So I knew that I could overcome and complete the challenge. But I'll be honest, I was having my doubts, especially on the few days running up to it. There's been a lot of, the stress of the moving home. We had some stress with the new baby that's coming. It was growing slower than what it should be. But since then, we've had a scan and the baby's absolutely fine and healthy, which is great. My great nan was rushed into hospital just a few days before the challenge as well, and she's actually had 4 blood transfusions, and she was released from hospital a couple of days ago. She's 97 years old and she's so strong. It's absolutely amazing. But you can imagine the whole family was so worried that a 97-year-old had to go into hospital for a blood transfusion and an emergency operation at her age with no family around her at bedside. So that was, some scary times, and some other family bits that went on, on the run up to us moving out, which I can't share details about as well. So there was a lot going on, and it was going to be my 30th birthday as well. So in my mind as well, I was questioning, should I be enjoying my birthday? Just not doing this challenge. Using that day for me. I'm only 30 once. What do other people do on their 30th birthday? And I'm doing a challenge, and lots of thoughts going on around that challenge. Okay, and also as well, we were just kind of crossing our fingers that our little boy Alfie, who's 2 years old, that he was going to be on his best behaviour during this challenge, because we streamed it live on Facebook on my business page, which is AJ Fitness and Mindset Coaching. You can go check out some of the live feeds if you want to. So we're kind of hoping that he was going to be on his best behaviour. I was predicting that this challenge was going to take around 9 to 10 hours. And obviously, to keep a 2-year-old entertained for 8 to 9, 10 hours is a challenge in itself. And of course, my fiance is 34 weeks, 34 weeks pregnant as well. So there was a lot against us. Especially that week. But do you know what? Alfie, and as everyone would have seen that tuned into the live, he was on his best behaviour. I think he had literally one meltdown. But he did absolutely amazing. And I think my fiance said that he probably had a whole pack of jam and cream biscuits during the challenge just to help try and keep him on his best behaviour. Probably not the best way to tame a child, but we did what we kind of could. So the night before, we both kind of slept pants. We're still sleeping on a mattress on the floor, still waiting for our bed to come. I've said that we're moving home at the moment, and there's been delays with the deliveries because of the lockdown and COVID-19. So we didn't sleep the best the night before. Up nice and early the next day, coffee, bit of porridge just for a bit of an energy boost to start the day, ready for the challenge. And I broke the challenge down into 16 segments of 500 steps. And that basically equaled the total of 8,000 step-ups that had to be done on and off of that stool. So it's the equivalent of climbing up and down all 3 of those peaks, basically back-to-back, non-stop. So after the first 2,000 steps, I had a break. And shortly after restarting, I was really, really struggling with my left knee. So the right part of my left knee going down to my calf, I was getting quite a annoying and painful feeling in that section. I didn't know what it was. And it was getting so painful at one point, I genuinely didn't think I was going to be able to finish the challenge. I really didn't think I was going to finish it. So yeah, it was a struggle. It really, really was. But what I started to do was I took a little bit of a rest, and I started trying to shift more of my weight onto my right side. And then, of course, that was putting more pressure onto my right hip, but it was what I had to kind of do to get through it. And over time, the pain just started to ease off a little bit, and I could kind of go back to normal and how I was stepping up and down. During this time as well, Facebook alerted me that I couldn't have my music playing, so I was going to do a little bit of karaoke for you all. You probably wouldn't have enjoyed my voice, but I was going to do it just for a bit of banter, a bit of fun. But Facebook basically told me off for playing music, not having the copyright for it. So I kept marching on and making the progress. So I was trying my best to focus on every 50 steps at a time, and try not to keep looking at the board, which I haven't actually got here. It's in the loft now, but I was trying to just focus on each 50 steps at a time, instead of looking at the whole challenge itself, like knowing how much longer I've got to go. And that really helped me, to be fair. And the final quarter of the challenge was clearly the toughest, as I'm sure many of you that watched the lives could see the expressions on my face of just pain and struggle. Genuinely just wanting it to be over so I could go and enjoy my 30th birthday and have a beer, spend some quality time with Alfie and Shannon, and have the calls with my friends and family. By this point, I hadn't even spoken to anyone. Like I said, I started the challenge at 7 a.m. in the morning, and it was just like preparation before that time. So I didn't speak to any friends or family until about 3-4 in the afternoon. But yeah, I finally made the final 100 steps, which I completed, and then had a Budweiser beer and a birthday cake brought out to me by my beautiful fiance and my son, which was really, really cool. We were still live on Facebook at the time, and I just felt overwhelmed with pride knowing that I'd accomplished this during a very stressful time in my life. Sorry. But I chose to ditch all excuses and raise money for the NHS. I felt so happy with all those who cheered me on during the challenge, all the messages that were coming through, and the inboxes on Facebook, and the comments and the likes and the love that was going on, and of course all those that donated for an amazing cause as well. And there is still time to donate, guys. We are literally just £70 away from reaching the £1,500 target. Okay, so even if 50 of you that are watching this Facebook Live or tuning into the podcast just donated like £1 or £2 each, we would easily reach that target today. Okay, it was a real struggle, and for days after, my legs felt damaged. They really, really did, especially my calves. For like 4 days, they just felt like concrete. I could barely walk. So yeah, just please donate. If you haven't already, I've shared the link in the title of this Facebook Live. I'll share the link on the podcast notes as well. But I know that we can get to that £1,500 target. It's for an amazing cause, and I know we can get there today. Please share this Facebook Live. Please share this podcast with your friends and family, and let's get to that target. And I'll take this moment just to share with you all, if you could just go check out my podcast, all the episodes on there, subscribe to the show, listen to some of the key episodes on there that relate to you from looking at the titles. And if you feel it worthy, rate it 5 stars as well. This really helps me or us reach out to more people. And also, please take a screenshot and share it on your social media stories, because this really helps raise awareness too. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. I really appreciate you supporting the show, and I'll catch up with you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Mind Shift Movement Podcast with Alan Johnson. Make sure you join Alan's free Facebook community group, the Mind Shift Movement Podcast Community. Please support the show by clicking subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Share this episode with at least one friend that would benefit from it, and share the episode on your social media stories. Please go and leave us a 5-star review to help us reach out to more potential listeners, and we really look forward to bringing you the next episode.